So look, I understand how difficult it is. How difficult it is to let go of trauma, to let go of the past. I mean, let's face it, we're not very good at it. Our natural instinct is to cling to things. We find it difficult to forget. And part of the problem is we see the past to be something real. And also, if somebody tells us that we need to forget about the past, then it triggers us because we think our pain is being diminished. That somebody is trying to say that our trauma is insignificant. But you just have to admit that the past is gone. I mean, there's no way to go back. There's no way for me to go back to the time when I was a teenager, when I had hopes and expectations for my life and plans for my future. Now, the thing is, we all know this. We all know the past is gone. If you were to ask someone, can you go back to the past? Then they'd have to admit that there is no way. But we see our memories to be so real, so potent, tangible in some way. And they become more real and solid when we remember hardship. Also, when we remember the good times, something really sticks in our minds. And if we have a shared experience, and that is often the case when it comes to family members, our sharing of the past, our remembering the past, makes it feel all the more tangible, solid and concrete. But in terms of the Buddha Dharma, then this is foolish to cling on to the past. I mean, to start off with, we can't change anything. We can't change a single moment. Although we may have regrets about how we reacted to a particular circumstance, to a particular situation. For example, I may have reacted in a very negative way to a situation that arose in a relationship, and on the basis of that, then my relationship was ruined. We see it to be irreparable. But this notion that some past circumstance is irreparable is based on the thought that some situations can be repaired, that somehow we can change things that have already transpired. But this isn't the case. And it's similar when it comes to the future. We think if we're only prepared, if we prepare well, then somehow we can change the future. And of course, I'm not saying you shouldn't prepare. If you have an exam coming up, then you should bloody well prepare. You should prepare well. You should study in advance. You have to do that. But the purpose of my preparation in the here and now is not really for future benefit. If I study, I come to know something. That knowledge happens in the present moment. I am enriched in the present moment. What we have to do is we have to do our best here and now. What gives us difficulty is not the things that are out of our control, but how we react to them. And so here's the thing. We have trauma from the past. It's painful, it's difficult, right? I understand that. But what afflicts us is how we relate to that in the present moment, how we deal with that. And I know if you're suffering and you can't let go of it, then it's quite likely that whatever I say I can't make that feel better. So as I've said many times before, there's kind of three ways of addressing any issue. Addressing suffering, trauma, whatever it is. And that's abandonment, transformation, and recognition. The technique of abandonment is in some ways easier but less effective. Really, ultimately, the most effective and best way to deal with your suffering or your trauma is to face up to it. And that's what this stage of recognition is all about. It's seeing things directly for how they are. But it requires courage. But courage is difficult, I understand that. It's not easy. It's not easy because we don't like the pain. But it's this fear of the pain is far more difficult than the actual pain itself. And through our meditation, what we do is we learn to recognize the nature of suffering. And as the Buddha taught, then everything has the nature of emptiness. What does that mean? It means that it doesn't possess specific characteristics or identity. We identify with our painful memories as being traumatic. And it's this identification that needs to be changed. And it's not like we have to fake it or lie to ourselves to pretend it's okay. Really, what recognition means is to see things for how they are. And one of the reasons why we're not able to practice meditation, in general that is, because we see things to be solid. Things like thoughts, memories. But when you look into it, then painful memories are not your enemies. In reality, they're your friends. They are your helpers on the path to liberation. As I said before, what we need to awaken is impetus. There needs to be some inception. And initially, that is what's called renunciation. It's a recognition of the potency of suffering in the mundane world. It's not a denial. But I understand, I get it. It's not easy. And so you have to work in stages. And that's what this second method is all about. It is transformation. In transformation, we learned to transform that which is initially painful into something joyous and virtuous. And the principal technique is what is called the generation of bodhicitta. That is loving kindness and compassion for all beings. And it's taught to be the supreme method for achieving awakening. And really the principle isn't difficult, it's quite easy. It's that when you're thinking about others, then you're not able to focus on your own pain and suffering. So this technique of transformation, what it does, is it gives us special ability to deal with our own suffering, but also to bring benefit to others. And ultimately, this is what the spiritual path is about. It's about developing this selfless perspective. I know initially, usually what we do is we try to escape personal suffering. So we're inspired onto the spiritual path because of our own pain, because we're looking for well-being or healing. But if you want to progress, this has to transform into concern for others. And then ultimately, what it transforms into is the recognition of perfect purity. But that's extremely difficult. That's not easy. Whatever is the case, then these are all methods or techniques that lead to liberation. Whether it's abandonment, transformation, or recognition, the initial or principal goal is the same, and that's to achieve liberation from the mundane world. And it is my sincere wish that you should achieve peace, happiness, and well-being, and progress swiftly along the spiritual path to final awakening. Anyway, that's about all I wanted to say this evening. So